What's going on, everyone? To another Love Wrestling React G1 31. For the week to catch up on, it's been so much fun. I am not alone, but I am, of course, not the franchise. I got it wrong again. That way, we have Cody. Cody, how you going?
Good. Caught up on all of this week's wrestling. Lots of wrestling, lots of good wrestling.
Yeah.
4 great shows that we got to go through here today.
We do indeed. And of course, down below, I saw something on Twitter the other day, so I'm going to blow a bit of smoke because I feel like it. Because I'm hosting, I can. I saw a thing the other day on Twitter that was about women fans in wrestling, stereotyping them, being not knowledgeable, blah, blah, blah. So while I say hi, I want to say thank you to Mel for not only joining us on these shows regularly, but also just being a super knowledgeable fan who does her research and just really loves the product and just loves being here. So Mel, thank you so much. And of course,
thank you.
And of course, hello and how are you?
I am doing great. Like I had said earlier to you guys, I am exhausted catching these shows live at 3:30 a.m. starting here. I'm listening to my neighbors go to bed as I'm trying to get some sleep here, but I couldn't ask for a better way to start my day.
Just a shout out
super fan.
Just a shout out to Mel for all of that, because for anyone who doesn't realize, Mel and I are in a time zone where these NJPW shows go live for us at like 1:32 in the morning. Matt is at least over closer and still isn't catching them live, is watching them after the fact. Mel is absolutely a wrestling fan that she stays up and watches this tournament live every night.
Yeah, so
this is my jam. New Japan is my thing, and I wouldn't stay up probably for anything else.
Yeah, so I saw that the other day, and I just wanted to say to you, thank you for not only joining us, but being as knowledgeable and as doing as much research as you do with the times that you're watching these shows. It is greatly appreciated. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, we don't have to rush today. Last week, we had to be out of here within a certain time. Today, we can let the show breathe, have a bit of fun. But Night 5 seemed like an eternity ago. It really did. It was only 4 shows ago, and they've compressed it due to the Olympics and whatever else. But Night 5 started off with Master Wato versus Fujita, the young lion. Fujita showed good aggression for me in this opener. I'm not across the young lions as much as Cody seems to be, so I'm going to let him lead with this one. But Cody, Master Wato versus Fujita, where were you at with that?
I really enjoyed it. I think as far as Fujita and the Young Lions have gone so far, I think wrestling a guy like Master Wato is a really, really good showcase for them, because he's only just graduated from the program himself. He's still close enough to their level. He knows how they work. He knows the dojo system. It's still fresh enough in his mind that he can really showcase them the way that a Young Lion versus Young Lion match typically does in showcasing both guys. Master Wato looked really, really good as well. These showcases really kind of put over his capabilities, whereas a lot of the times we see him, he's wrestling more like the Tenzans and the Makabes and the Hanmas and that he doesn't get to show off his capabilities as much. And this was a good little teaser of what's to come in the Super Junior coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're doing a really good job of these showcases in respect to the best of Super Juniors, but giving people like Master Wato and Kanemaru that we'll speak about later these opportunities to remind people just how good they actually are and how much growth they have had. Mel, did you have any thoughts in regards to what we saw from Wato or Fujita?
Speaking to the aggression of Fujita, this was also a little bit more of aggressive stance that we've seen from Master Wato. He's kind of come back from Mexico as more of like that kind of baby face, colorfully dressed, coming out there with his hand and everything. And this, he kind of almost seemed to be sticking it a little bit to Vegeta and actually making him work for that aggression. So I really appreciated that from them. Overall, I felt that they worked very well together and that they put on a really decent opener for us.
Yeah, I agree 100% with both of you. It was fun. I find that this is a better way to open these cards rather than just a massive conglomerate, 6-8 man tag, whatever. They're compressed their fixture and they're doing it really well, but this was good stuff. Next was not another block match. It was another thing fill in, basically, because we all know, unfortunately, sorry Mel, Naito's injured. Shingo coming off a loss to ZSJ versus Yuji Nagata. This was better than I expected. I don't know why I expected less. Takagi's good. We know what Nagata can do. Mel, I'm going to start with you this time.
I mean, you got to hand it to Blue Justice to be able to go toe-to-toe with the world champion. At his age, Cody, what did we say? He was 53, 52?
53.
53 years old, and Shingo himself is no spring chicken. He's in his 40s now, so just incredible, experienced veteran match for me. I just really liked it. Yuji Nagata always delivers in everything he does. He gives 110% every single match. It doesn't matter if the main event match or an opener match, you're going to get the same Yuji Nagata. I thought it was a fantastic match.
Yeah, I agree. There was a point in time where they did Nagata need Shingo, but Shingo slipped at the same time. And I was like, oh, shit, he actually knocked him out. But it was all good in the end. Cody.
Oh.
We lost Matt's sound. But not sure what's going on with your mic over there, Matt, but I think I get the point from you as far as this match goes. Honestly, I had an interesting thought as we were watching this match that came about, that Yuji Nagata, 53 years old, retired from G1 matches because he didn't feel like he could win the tournament anymore. The man's been wrestling for almost 30 years. They said during this match that he joined the dojo in 1992 and did his excursion with WCW. So that just says how long this man's been wrestling for. And he went out there and he put on a world championship caliber match with the current reigning champion. This may be the last time we ever see Nagata wrestling a singles match on a G1 card. Even if it wasn't a G1 match itself, it was a G1 caliber and G1 capable match. And he went out there and he gave me a showcase of the young Yuji Nagata that I never got to witness growing up, of the man that I can see from this match who he was and why Blue Justice is so highly regarded within the New Japan system.
And also, to add to that, Cody, it could also be the last time that we see Yuji Nagata in a one-on-one match with a championship, let alone like fighting for one, but with fighting someone who is on top of the kind of division there. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a showcase. It ended up being about a 17-minute match, I think, which is a high caliber match for a man of his age. Are you back with us now, Matt? I don't know if we can hear you yet.
Nope. We got to do the sign language charades.
I'll pop you out there.
Next match, Okan versus Takahashi Yujiro. Start signing.
I mean, we'll pop Matt out. We'll try and bring him back in. We'll see if we can get these mic issues figured out there. How's that?
Nope.
I can hear myself echoing.
Oh no.
I don't know what to tell you, Matt. Live TV. Yeah, I mean, I'll go with the Great Okan Yujiro match. They mentioned right off the bat here, Great Okan hasn't lost a singles match since April against Naito. The man has been wrestling fantastic throughout this summer. came into the match undefeated, going against Yujiro Takahashi. Put on a pretty solid match between them still. Very good mat wrestling match, pretty good amateur style exchange between them to start. And then Yujiro goes the Bullet Club route, ends up pulling out the pimp stick, getting a little bit dirty, but ended up being a mostly clean match. And Great-O-Khan ends up winning again to stay undefeated at 8 points. What were your thoughts on this one, Mo?
I agree. This match for me felt like a classic wrestling match of your standard, your grapples, your moves. It felt like something that I would see out of two guys in about the same size, maybe a little less cocaine, in the 80s. It was a lot very similar to what I would see in something like that. And something I also noticed that O'Khan has been really adapting into this single kind of fighting thing where, he goes from fighting someone who has a larger lucha style, where like with Naito, to someone like Yujiro, who's a little bit more classically trained. And then as we see a few nights later, the complete different kind of technicality of Zack Sabre Jr., it's something that he has been able to do, is just adapt to each challenge he has kind of going again. I really like how this match went. And of course, it's always nice to see Peter back. Always nice to see what kind of outfit she's going to be wearing when she comes down to the ringside.
Yeah. Matt? I see your lips moving.
Thumbs up for Peter?
I'm not sure what Matt's got going on there, but we'll bounce him out for now. Just what you touched on there, Mel, with the Great-O-Khan and adapting his styles too. I mean, you touched on the Yujiro, the ZSJ, the Naito stuff, but then he also put on a fantastic match last week that we talked about as well with Toru Yano, who you've got Yano works his typical goofy, story in itself, but Great-O-Khan was just as capable of working that as he was coming out on this night and working a very, very slick amateur style mat wrestling technical showcase, and then going out the next night and working a very technical different style against Zack. So really solid match. It was really nice to see Yujiro get back to those amateur roots as well and play that style out. Because it is something that we don't get to see enough from Yujiro, since he's always involved in the Pimp Club, Bullet Club shenanigan stuff that we expect to see from Bullet Club.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, while Matt's gone here, we'll get his feelings on that when he comes back if we can, but we'll move along. Next up on night 4, night 5, I guess it was, right? Night 5, we had
night 5, yeah.
Tanga Loa with Massive Heater Jado versus Yano. Again, standard Yano match, lots of shenanigans. Came out with a bag full of handcuffs and tape that they ended up dumping out in the middle of the ring right off the start to call him out on his shenanigans. A lot of the same stuff we expect: low blows, corner pads off, Jado with a kendo stick, and Yano ends up sneaking in the low blow to pull off the win. I don't know if I expected Yano to get this. I mean, Yano is always a spoiler. I thought this looked like a solid place for Tanga Loa to get his first win of the tournament. I get it. They're telling that story that maybe he's not quite to the level his brother is and has to fight for these points. But what did you think of this one?
This one, again, just typical Yano shenanigans, typical Bullet Club shenanigans. I knew going into this match that it wasn't going to be a straight and narrow kind of match that we would typically be used to. I mean, there's no question what Yano's kink is. Clearly, he likes the bondage stuff. But all in all, for me, it was a great way, because I believe this was the last match before intermission. It was a great way to kind of end that first half of the two more intense matches of the Wado, Fujita, and O'Khan and Yujiro. It was kind of a good way to kind of break that intensity a little bit, give the audience something to giggle at, but while still giving them a really good kind of wrestling style match. So I really did feel that even though he didn't pick up the win, that this match actually really did highlight Tanga Loa and his ability in one-on-one matches.
Yeah, I think actually this card was six matches. I think this was the first one back from the break, but even still coming back from the break, it was a nice kind of breath of air there after the technical showcase that was Yujiro and Great-O-Khan to come back and have that little bit of a laugh, little bit of shenanigans, fun stuff, joking around. Handcuffs and Yano with his 25-minute ring introduction as they announce everything from his t-shirt to his chair to his movie to his trophy to his whatever else he has going on in the show.
Goodness, the restaurant and the hours that it's open and goodness, man, just stop doing things.
The man is a walking promotion, that is for sure. But it ended up moving Yano up with the win. Left Tangaloa still sitting only on the 2 points from the Naito forfeit, looking for his first actual win of the tournament in his first tournament here. So solid showcase still in the loss. I mean, Tangaloa has had a couple of those now between the Nagata match and the Chase Owens match. He's sorry, no, not Chase. Great-O-Khan match, right? The first night with both of them on their first tournaments. So yeah, they both had their opportunities to shine in this match and move on. Next up, we went to an absolute slobber knocker of a fight between Kenta and Ishii. Hard hitting, hard striking. Not quite the big meaty men that we've had on a couple other nights, but even still, Kenta in his smaller size and smaller stature can hold his own with a big guy like Ishii, and it was absolutely brutal. Hard striking. What did you think?
Absolutely. Wasn't Ishii the one who, in Rev Pro, when they had their match, he actually knocked Kenta out, I believe, mid-match. And those two, they hit each other a lot. What I noticed about this match, tons of reversals. It wasn't just your typical hitting them up match kind of thing. They hit them up. They definitely hit them up, but they definitely did a lot more reversals, and that's something that I know Ishii is capable of doing, but it's not something that he typically highlights a lot. I think maybe because he's not typically fighting those guys, he's kind of going in with that brawler kind of shoulder check, lariat, sliding lariat mentality of that kind of thing. So I actually really enjoyed this match. I thought that it was actually the match of the night for me.
I don't know if I call it the match of the night. The next one was quite the match as well, but
yes,
it was definitely top two on the night for sure, and made sense to be in this spot in the semi-main event. Just the striking exchange they had where they were going back and forth and exchanging those blows all over the place, trying their damnedest to knock each other out, and then both men just falling to the mat afterwards, just absolutely spent and exhausted from standing for a good 30-40 seconds, just exchanging those strikes. And the finish too, right? Like nobody with any kind of finishing moves, anything, just the Kenta pushing him into the exposed turnbuckle and the roll up. There was kind of a shock finish and a surprise finish to see that come out of nowhere like that. Pushes Kenta up. Kenta's on a run. I know you had Kenta winning the block here, did you not?
I did, but I also had him beating Shingo, and that didn't happen, did it?
Yeah. Who knows? Very tight in this division altogether right now. So definitely keeps him in the race. Ishii, again, at this point, is still sitting only on the 2 point forfeit points, hasn't actually won a match in the tournament up until now. So it's a surprising tournament for Ishii for sure up until this point, that seeing him sitting at 0-3 in terms of matches wrestled.
Well, we do always see New Japan does have their little Cinderella stories. I don't suspect it'll be Ishii, but you never know. You never know.
Never know. And then, our main event, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Kota Ibushi. This match is always a match that's circled on my calendar. Anytime these two guys go in the ring, their styles mesh so well. Kota with his fast-paced striking, high-flying, and Zack just with his expertise, groundwork, technical showcase. And that's exactly what we got. Fast-paced, technical, striking. At this point, Zack looks like a stud, like a superstar, like the top of the bracket to me. Through these matches, he's beat Naito, he's beat Shingo, and here he ends up wrapping Kota up like a pretzel. I don't even know what you call that move he finished him off with. That was some kind of super submission that he had him wrapped up in. Fantastic. It was definitely a one for the record books in this tournament between them. What were your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I felt that the match was almost like a battle between the two of them, of Kota Ibushi trying to speed up the pace of the match and Zack trying to just abruptly stop it. And that battle back and forth is what gave us that incredible match. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a super submission. Like I thought he was going into an octopus, then limbs started going every which way. I was matching Kevin Kelly's energy at that point. There was so much yelling happening. I had no idea what was going on.
Oh no. There was also the one spot in this match that I specifically noted down because I remember in the moment it kind of gave me a big reaction and kind of an oh no when Kota leapt up onto the ropes and Zack came in and drop kicked his leg out from under him, and Kota had a hard fall there. And I was concerned
that was when
possibly,
he kicked him from behind, right?
Yeah.
He
got him from behind, kicked the leg through the ropes, and Kota fell hard down to the mat. And I was like, oh no, that looked rough. But no harm, no foul. Everything came out clean out of it. So,
I mean, with Kota Ibushi, I mean, he's kind of made a career on epically falling off of things, whether it's him jumping off of them and falling or simply falling. But like with Ibushi, I do tend to worry with his knees, with his ankles. He's had some issues with them in the past that it would definitely be a concern seeing something like that for sure.
I remember back in the G1 29, both of these guys within the first 2 or 3 nights of the G1 29, both of them had hits where they got like landed hard on their neck and ended up selling the neck injuries through the rest of the tournament. I remember Zack's head landed like that, and I'm like, so yeah, they both have a history of falling hard in certain spots.
It's that soy boy Tekker thing, though. He's just made, his bones aren't calcium; they're soy now, so they move a little easier.
He is Gumby in the ring, really. Before I jump to Ed's comment that he's got here for us, I did just get an update from Matt. Unfortunately, his microphone seems to have shot the pooch and isn't going to be picking up for him. So unfortunately, he will not be back with us. So it is just us for the rest of the show now.
See you, Matt.
We got Ed in the comments there. Could we be headed to Will versus Zack Sabre Jr. for Wrestle Kingdom? What do you think?
I mean, I wouldn't be mad about it. Knowing the history those two have, I think they trained together at some point in time in the UK. Who would really know each other better than each other? I think that would be an incredible match. Do I think Zack could win it? Yeah, at this point, he's really proud to. He's working hard to get there. And at this point, I don't see anybody nearly as motivated as he is to get there. I think I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing it. That would be a good match.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can hear me there. We're getting a little bit of technical difficulties again, I think. But that match itself for me, I mean, we've seen them running through the G1 against each other in the same blocks before. So that match, every time I've seen it, has been an exciting match to witness. Seeing them actually fighting on the grand stage for the top title would be something that I'd be all in for. I think Zack is long overdue for a run with and at that title. I think Zack and Will as a whole is a great main card main event there. But there's so many other options as well. We've got Shingo and Will as its built-in story to it. You've got Zack and Shingo, obviously. I mean, Zack has already earned himself a shot at Shingo's title, so maybe we could see him take that title off of off of Shingo before we get back to Wrestle Kingdom and have Will fighting Zack for the interim title instead of Will versus Shingo for that title.
Could be. At this point, I'm still annoyed that the two belts were conjoined. I would have obviously liked to see these two remain separate. Wouldn't it be interesting if instead of claiming that belt back from Osprey, let him run with it for a little bit. Let him keep that angle up for a little bit, because as marketable as Shingo is in Japan, he might not be as marketable in America. Whereas Will Ospreay, very marketable in America, very marketable in the UK, very marketable in Europe, in pretty much anywhere he goes, he's going to be marketable and he's going to make himself marketable. So,
yeah, I think it's
for the Japanese market, it would be nice to see too, though. For the every other market, it would be good to see Ospreay versus Zach. So,
yeah, it's kind of ideal right now, just with the way the world is split and divided, to have the two champions, one running America, one running Japan, and play up that feud for when you can eventually get back to opening borders and fighting across the borders again, but have one title on each show. Matt has hopped back in here. We're going to give him another try, see if he got those microphone issues figured out.
Please work.
Yay!
Yes.
Welcome back to the show.
Yes. I'm no technological wizard, but I figured it out. I somehow disabled my microphone, and I don't know how I did it.
Oh.
But after a restart and clicking some buttons, I'm back.
We're happy to have you back.
Turn it off, turn it back on. It fixes everything.
We have been all the way through night one. We were just discussing after the Zach and Ibushi match, but if you want to run us through your thoughts on the rest of the night one card. And by night one, I mean night 5.
By night 1, you mean night 5? I will say, the last thing I heard before I restarted my computer out of your mouth, Melissa, was the word bondage, and I was scared.
That's why he had to fix the microphone and get back. He was concerned where our stream was going.
No, just the last word I heard was bondage. I'm trying to fix my microphone, and I'm cackling to myself, and I'm like, how did we get from G1 to bondage? I got no earthly idea.
Yano's bag of tricks.
Yano playing his kinks out in the ring.
Yeah, he just likes to tie people up with all sorts of weird shit. That's just how it is. From night 5, Ishii and Kenta for me was just a banger, hard hitting, what you'd expect from those two. I was a bit surprised that Kenta won, but not overly surprised. The one that stood out for me was, Zaki Big Boy Tekers and Kota. I thought it was going to go probably another 5 minutes longer, but I don't know whether Bushi's got it in him at the moment. Zach is just on another level to probably everyone else at the moment. It's just ridiculous how good and how confident he is in his own ability. What do you say? He's running away with A block, and we'll get to B block in a minute, but there's 2 blokes over there running away with B block. So I don't know. Hopefully the next couple of nights doesn't keep on that same upward trend. I want some surprises mixed in there, but Zack Sabre Jr. at the moment is just outworldly good. And what he's doing is clean. It's crisp. He's confident. He's cocky. He's arrogant. And I love it. It's fantastic. It's really, really fantastic.
No, he's definitely proven that he belongs in that conversation at least.
Absolutely. And one other thing I want to touch on, because as I was backstage, I could hear you guys talking about it. The 2 world titles floating around, one between Japan, one between the US, I think it's fantastic. I reckon it's a good way for them to do things with the way the world is situated, as you said, Cody. Excuse me. Will is the sort of person that, even though he knows in his heart of hearts he's not the actual champion because he had to vacate it, he's the sort of cocky prick, similar to Zack Sabre, that will pull off making you believe that he still is champion because he never lost it. And what he's building with United Empire over in the UK and the US, and then you've got Cobb and GOK doing what they're doing in the G1. It all comes together except for TJP. Oh God, what am I thinking there? It's all so good. Aussie Open joining was fantastic. Being an Aussie and having them in there, I think is fantastic. TJP, as I said, I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
TJP is a wrestler I have a ton of respect for. TJP
as a wrestler, yes.
His personal
as a person,
beliefs,
As a person, I believe he's a piece of shit, but that's another story for another day.
But then don't forget about Hanare as well, who's sitting stuck in, I think, New Zealand or Australia.
Try as we might, we have to remember him.
Yeah. Hanare, he victim of circumstance. He was just getting going, had the new look and all that sort of stuff, and then the world took it away from him. It is what it is. Not much you can do about it. Hopefully he comes back in really good shape. I trust that he will. And United Empire, I just hope they don't grow too big. If it grows too big, but when they come together, it's going to get all discombobulated and weird.
Yeah, too big, too quick. You're going to end up with a Bullet Club situation where you have like 13, 14, 15 members and all of them think they're the leaders.
Absolutely. But I look forward to the time where they are all in Japan and someone like Cobb or Great Khan is just going to eventually get sick of Will's bullshit and they're just going to flatten him. I'm hoping it's Cobb. And hopefully that leads to them taking the world title or something from him, and that'll just be fantastic. But at the moment, the way they're doing it, I think is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the size of the group right now, too, it's a decent size, right? I think we're at, if we get TJP over and Hanari back, we're still only at 6. And then if Aussie Open actually comes to New Japan, then we're up to 8, which is getting up there in size, but still manageable. It's not quite to Bullet Club overbearing size yet.
Yeah, it's a good size for why they're split. I just think it might be a bit discombobulated. But I like the idea of Will having United Empire spread across different promotions, not just New Japan. I think that's a really good way of doing it because that's how Will sort of operated himself as a talent for a long period of time. So it'd be interesting to see where they go. But at the moment, I think it's working great.
Oh yeah, with them, with Bullet Club, Los Ingobernables spreading all across it, it's an invasion, really.
Yeah, and it's just a good time to be a wrestling fan as a as a whole. It doesn't matter what you watch, so there's something for everyone and everything. No other things to add for night 5?
I don't think so. I think we can jump ahead to 6.
We can jump right into 60. I come back at a good time. Go me. Night 6 I thought was really good because it was just 5 block matches straight up and down, nothing to take you out of it. This first match nearly took me out of it because of who was in it. Taichi versus Evil. Evil and Togo keep doing the same repetitive stuff every single match. And it's hard to watch sometimes. It really is. I'm enjoying what Taichi's doing personally. We'll start with you, Mel. What did you think about Taichi and Evil?
So I actually really enjoyed this match because where Bullet Club is doing Bullet Club things and always getting involved and it's hella annoying, this was a different kind of interference in that instead of necessarily using, the Garrett or the kendo stick or a chair like they typically would, they used Miho Abe as the weapon against Taichi, which is something we don't typically see in New Japan. Like Western, like WWE style AEW people will be like, oh, that's nothing. We've seen people go through tables here. That's not a big thing. But here it was like, we don't do that here. The women are typically respected and off to the side and they're not typically involved in the matches. And they didn't really have women do that until B. Priestley with United Empire kind of was getting involved physically in matches. For me, I would have not been as invested in the match if it wasn't for the use of Miho Abe. Because at that point, it was just like a typical Evil Togo match of when are they going to remove the turnbuckle? When are they going to hit him with the kendo stick? When are they going to trip him? When are they going to get him outside? When are they going to take out Osaki-chan? It's just the same thing every time. Yeah. But like I said, the addition of Miho actually made the match worth it for me.
Yeah, I've got the same thing written in my notes. You took the words out of my mouth. Using Miho was a good touch. It was different. It kept it fresh. And it means that there's something for these two to revisit after the G1 if that's the route they want to go. I think this is probably the first instance they've used a woman being physical in any sense, probably since Will did what he did to be over in New Japan, because that was a big no-no over there. But that part of it I liked. The match itself was solid, but the Evil stuff just takes me out of it a lot. Cody, what did you think in regards to this one?
Yeah, a lot of the same. I actually marked out on Mel while I was watching this match that basically like, that damn Dick Togo, how dare he put his hands on Miho Abe?
All caps. All caps.
all caps. Like, I was like furious at that. I was like, how dare he? But no, it told the story, right? It was something that it got me invested in it. And shout out to poor Ozaki though. Like, a lot of what he's done, it's, he's taking those bumps and they're just, bumps with the table, whatever. On this show in Cork and Hell, though, he took that bump and his head smoked the bottom step of that bleacher really hard.
You heard the bonk of it when he went down.
But then Miho Abe coming over and apologizing to him, and then later on when Taichi knocks Evil off the apron into him again, and Miho's over there having to apologize again, like, sorry.
It's a nice touch that she does that, because that's not something that you typically see over here. Here, it's like if you saw someone do that at a show, the girl would be pointing and laughing at what happened, or they would be the person involved in helping that person's misfortune. Whereas Miho is, even in the heel faction, one of the heeliest factions there, she's the sweet little apologetic angel.
Poor little innocent Miho, unless you follow her Instagram, and then she's not quite as innocent anymore. But
I mean, Peter's probably looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
What did I miss in regards to Miho's Instagram? I've never seen it personally.
There's a lot of very, very as revealing as you can get on Instagram without breaking PG boundaries.
Oh, so she's online what Peter is in reality. That's
kind of. At least through all of the COVID break where she hasn't been on TV, that's a lot of what she's been doing. But also a shout out to the end of this match where it was like the everything is evil and the darkness scorpion and Taichi's out cold, locked in that submission. They're forcing Miho to watch. Like, just an addition to, you're not just using her as the distraction to stop him from hitting the Black Mephisto, but also then continuing it on and like holding her up on the ring apron, making her watch as Taichi's unconscious, being bent in half.
Yeah, I thought it was good selling towards the end of the match. He really sold. You made you think that he was legit out cold. Even after the match when the Young Lions were trying to take him to the back, like he's pushing them away. He
was trying to go up the tunnel behind Evil instead of up his own tunnel.
Yeah, it was an interesting end to the match, and I didn't hate the match. It just Evil doing evil things. It just takes me out a lot of the time. But, at least as Mel said, and you, Cody, as well, at least the Miho thing was different, and it kept it fresh, and that's all we really asked for. Sonata and Chase Owens, I really enjoyed. I thought this was a fun match between two guys that are really technically talented professional wrestlers. Chase getting frustrated with losing all the time is becoming a story that I'm interested in. And the longer this goes, I think the more frustrated he's going to get. But yeah, this was a really, really fun match. Cody, where were you with this interesting matchup?
I wasn't as invested in this as you sounded like you were. I think the Chase story, it played out a little quickly in this match for me. And it may just be that they played a lot on that history that Chase and Sonata have from all of the LIJ and Bullet Club tag matches over the past few years. Chase doing things like trying to replicate the Paradise Lock and then getting stuck in it by himself. But he seemed a little bit more like the old Chase on this match, where he was starting to go back into those old habits, looking for the dirty, the cheap tricks, the quick shortcuts, things like that. I would have liked to see it play out a little bit longer over the tournament before he really starts losing it and going back to his old ways, or seen a tournament where he really started to change his ways, one of the two. That said, though, I mean, it's fun. Sonata is always an enjoyable match. Chase, I like that he's getting a chance to show what he's capable of. Just, I guess for me in this match, it was just a progression of things too quickly after two really solid matches. It felt like this one kind of went a different direction for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I don't know. I just really enjoyed this match for what it was. It didn't go overly long. It was, short, sharp. Sonata's good. Chase, I think, has been good. But yeah, you're right. The story's played out probably a little quick. Mel, what did you think of Sonata versus Chase?
For me, it was a reasonably paced match. It wasn't something that I'd be like, oh my God, you got to check out that match. But something I am always enjoying with the Sonata and Chase Owens when they get involved with each other is Chase's relentless attempts to actually do the Paradise Lock. It's absolutely hilarious, and you almost want to just put it over there and get no under there. You got to put that. You just want to help him so badly. But for me, that reversal from Sonata, where Chase was getting him up into the package pile driver, reverse it into that end sequence. I thought that was very well done and a good ending to the match for them.
Yeah, it's interesting to know where and how Chase's first win, if it's gonna come. I assume it will. It's just interesting to know where and how.
Mm-hmm.
That's the story that I'm sort of intrigued by. We know Sonata's going to be there and thereabouts, but no, for what it was, this match was fine. It was fine.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks in a row, though. We've got solid reversals out of the package pile driver, right? Last week with the gun stun, and this week the reversal into a straight Hurricanrana that looked really smooth and really well executed.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff Cobb versus Hiroki Goto was next on the same night. Cobb's running through the competition, and Goto is seemingly struggling. Well, not struggling, but he's been good against really good opposition. This was hard hitting, as you'd expect. I enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it, Mel?
Oh, anytime Goto and Cobb are involved in anything, you know it's going to be a great match. Those two, especially Goto. I've seen more of Goto than I have of Cobb, although Cobb has a 61-11 record this year. That's kind of insane.
That's ungodly.
But Goto just has this thing. I just love Goto. He's that little person that you want to protect because you know he's going to deliver. You know that no matter what situation you put him in, he's going to go out there, he's going to do it, and he is not going to give you any complaints about it. I personally really like this match. I felt that the ending sequence going into that crazy spin cycle that he did was just, every time I see it, it just gives me a backache. But man, it's so great to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Cobb throwing Goto around. Goto is not small. And Kevin, I don't know if Chris was on commentary for this night. I don't think he was. Kevin, I know for a fact, was making a big deal that Goto was around the 200 and something pound mark. And Cobb was throwing him around quite comfortably. That's super impressive. The work on the left arm that Goto did was solid, and Cobb sold it well. Yeah, I really like this match. Cody, did you like it as much as we did?
Yeah, for sure. It felt like a different match for Cobb, too. It felt like Goto got a fair amount of offense in there, and Cobb actually had to sell to it. And it was nice seeing Cobb, working with a little bit of adversity, working from under for a little bit of the match. Goto, obviously, Goto's struggling so far in this tournament, coming out with no points after this loss. But he's still working his backside off. He's really putting in the effort. He looks good in all of the matches that he's put out so far. And then just the clean lift into the tour. Like, Cobb's showing all different ways that he's pulling people into the tour, whether it's off the ropes, whether it's the Rainmaker pull, whether it's just a straight short arm clothesline pull or a straight clean lift off the ground. He's had some versatility with his Tour of the Islands in this tournament, and it's a nice change of pace for him that, it's not, you can't always see it coming when he pulls them up just into a clean, right up off the ground into a tour.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's a simple enough finisher, but the fact that he is consistently finding different ways to get his opponent into the position for it, I think is really inventive. It's a really, really good point. Tanahashi and Tama Tonga, for me, was excellent. I really, really, really enjoyed this match. I really liked the commentary between Kevin and Chris. So Chris must have been there. How the leadership is rattling around in Tama's head while he's trying to wrestle these matches and turn over a new leaf. I really like that Massive Heater is ringside and he hasn't done a thing. That's really good. I really enjoy that. Cody, did you like this match too?
I think it was my match of the night on this night.
Yep.
As much as I loved Cobb and Goto, I just, what Tama and Tanahashi did, every time I see Tama Tonga in the ring during this tournament right now, I'm gaining more and more respect for him. I forget if it was this night or the next night, I've noticed for the first time them actually announcing him as the good bad guy.
Yeah.
And
I think they've been doing a whole tournament.
I was like, how have I not noticed until like night 4 that they're calling him this. And apparently I haven't watched enough God in general to catch on to that, but
I think that the good bad guy thing was happening when he was having that like kind of a conflict of morality. I think just after Jay White had joined Bullet Club, and he was like, "But I'm the good guy. I'm the good guy." And he was like doing this like, "I'm nice," and not hitting people and not doing like being forced by his team to do his moves and being thrown to do his like dive in the corner. And he was like, "Ah!" It was a hilarious time to watch, Tom. I highly recommend going back and checking them out.
The good bad guy sort of works for him because he's working as a good guy in the sense of Jardo's not getting involved in their matches, but he's the bad guy with the cockiness and the way he talks, and every second word's a swear word. The man is a walking cuss machine.
But
Mel,
I mean, what he's doing in the match and like the finish that they had with this match, was getting there at least. I mean, Sama hit Tanahashi with a really nice sling blade and a high fly flow of his own, and then the gun stun into the celebration without actually the pin, and just the way that played out and the way it finished was just. It was a really, really cool way to play it out where he doesn't actually get the win, but you think he probably should have.
Yeah. Initially, when this match started, I initially thought this would be a good one for Tama to win and then challenge for the US title maybe afterwards, but that's not the route they went. I like the route they went anyway. Mel, did you like this match as much as we seemingly did?
Oh, yeah. The Tama Tonga has been one of my personal favorites since I started watching New Japan. God was my favorite tag team initially when I first started watching, and Tama was obviously my favorite of the two with the wild hair and the face paint and the crazy masks and everything. But this is a totally different Tama from 2 or 3 years ago. It's like I used to have this theory that when you lose your hair, you lose your creativity in whatever it is you're doing. You see it in rap. Busta Rhymes lost his dreads. And when was the last time he was relevant, kind of thing. Ludacris, the same thing. I was worried when I saw Tama cut his hair that he would go that same route, that this was him saying, okay, I'm done. I'm stepping to this side now. But we've actually rather seen the complete opposite. Tama has really stepped up. He's got that, confidence out. He just oozes it when you see him come out. He knows what he's doing. He's confident in everything that he does. It has a purpose. I felt that this match was an incredible show for him, and it was definitely one of those anything Tana can do, I can do better kind of thing. Absolutely. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And as Cody said, I really liked that he used the sling blade and the high flow. I also equally popped for the Tongan death grip. I really did. How can you not? They reference, between Tama and Tonga, they reference their father all the time. For him to bust it out, I thought was fantastic. Yeah, this match was good. I really enjoyed it. Nothing else to say about it. I really did enjoy it. The main event of night 6, Okada versus Yoshihashi. Okada, we know, is back in the Rainmaker frame of mind. Yoshihashi has been super impressive without getting a win. This match for me was a tale of two halves. It went longer than I thought, but it was still enjoyable. Mel, what were your thoughts on this long main event?
This one, I'm not a big Yoshihashi fan, but I think we've mentioned a few times in these chats that he always goes above and beyond in the G1 to perform. I wish he would do it more consistently throughout the year. However, his G1 is just a time that I can't speak illy of him. He put 110% into that match, and you can usually tell how intense he's getting based on how much he's yelling, and he was yelling a lot in this match. But of course, the Rainmaker, when you have the Rainmaker, that's the deciding factor in that match. Okada has I personally think, the best drop kicks in professional wrestling, whether it's the shotgun drop kick, whether it's just a standing one, whether it's missile one, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Okada just knows how to deliver great matches. He always knows where the cameras are. He really made that match for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Cody, Long main event. Did you enjoy it? Did you think same as me?
Honestly, the story of this main event was the story being told by Chris and Kevin for me.
Yeah.
The match itself was really, really good, but I was more invested in hearing Chris and Kevin talk and tell the story of Yoshihashi as, multiple times that he had to try out and be rejected for the dojo, how he only ended up getting in on a last minute phone call because 2 other guys dropped out of the dojo. How he was in before Okada, that in actuality he's senpai to Okada, or was when they started, but Okada just took the kind of the fast track to stardom, and Yoshihashi's had to fight and scratch and claw for everything he's got. That was the real entertainment value in this match for me, was just hearing that story and then watching it play out in the match as well. So again, just, Chris and Kevin, we've mentioned every week about how amazing they do at their job. This was just kind of an absolute highlight for them, as really, really getting me invested in the story of the match, when Okada and Yoshihashi was a match that I didn't necessarily have the investment in without that storytelling.
Yeah, and they played it up even before Night 6 aired. Like, they were making a big deal of the fact that it's Okada versus Yoshihashi main eventing in Korakuen. Yoshihashi and Korakuen's a big, for some reason, a big deal. But the longer this match went, Yoshi seemed to get stronger, and I actually thought they were going to go to a draw for a point. But as Okada seems to always do, he finds another gear. He gets the win, gets the 2 points. This is where I'm starting to get worried that B block is going to become Okada and Cobb, just keep winning every night. And then it gets to night sort of, the 6th and 7th match of B block, you know what's going to happen, because you know that they're going to potentially go undefeated until the final night. But, we'll wait and see what twists and turns happen. This show for me was solid without ever being fantastic. But the G1 up to this point has been better than I think anyone thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Which is surprising, because I was in a chat earlier today where somebody actually commented that they thought this G1 has actually been very underwhelming. Well, it hasn't lived up to the G1 expectation, and I was like, I disagree. I think it's actually been a really strong series of matches.
It's been as good as it's been better than I expected, in the sense of you haven't got Ospreay, Jay White, Minoru Suzuki, and those sort of caliber of talents in your main events rotating through. And Naito as well now is out. What we've been given are people like Chase, Tama, Tonga, these sort of people proving that they are worthy of being considered further down the track. And yes, I agree. This has been an awesome G1 overall. People will disagree, and that's totally fine. But I reckon it's been great. Cody just said he thinks it's been great, and I'm assuming Mel also thinks it's been fantastic.
Oh, yes. I wouldn't be getting up for 3:30 in the morning if it wasn't.
That cannot do it. I never once during Okada vs Yoshihashi believed Yoshihashi would win the match. I agree. I never thought he was going to win. I thought he was going to get a draw out of it. That's about as far as I thought he was going to go. But Okada, as Okada does, he got the win in the end. Night 7, A block action.
Just another shout out to that Canada dude, just throwing in his thoughts. Chase Owens has also been awesome in the tournament.
Amen. Absolutely. Amen. Yeah, as I said before, he's going to get a win at some point. He has to. When that happens and how it happens, that's the story for me. Yujiro Takahashi versus Bushi. I thought this was fun for what it was. Yujiro with Peter by his side, just, I don't know, he seems like a different Yujiro when she's there. Bushi, it's another showcase of what a junior can do leading up to the best of Super Juniors. Mel, did you have any thoughts on Yujiro versus Bushi?
I mean, I just popped because Bushi. And just in case anybody didn't see, there was one single solitary Bushi in the crowd. Where's the Bushi? Go back and watch it. You'll find it.
Bushi, that is correct. That Canada dude, Bushi indeed.
I always love Bushi. At first when I started watching, I was like, what? Why does everybody love Bushi? You always hear the crowd, Bushi, 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 Bushi. But the more you watch him, you realize he's actually a very, very talented lucha libre wrestler and a very, very flamboyant character in that he always comes out with different gear. He always has these awesome masks. It was nice to see the homage to Naito, the fallen leader, night 7. You know, I mean, I didn't expect Bushi to win. Bushi is kind of like the Yujiro of LIJ. He's kind of usually the one who's being pinned as opposed to getting pins. But I personally thought that it was a consistent match. It was a good opener, and it was a good way for Yujiro to kind of stay ready for his next match.
Yeah, absolutely. Cody, did you like this match?
Yeah, it was fun for an exhibition match. Again, the shout outs for the homage to Naito at the beginning, the full suit that Bushi came out in, and having it like taking his time, taking it all off piece by piece, like Naito does. The fun little tranquilo opening. A couple fairly close calls for Bushi in this match, though, and Chris and Kevin did a good job with kind of pointing out the referees in this. I've been trying to catch throughout there's the 2 new referees that they've had reffing.
This one was Sakamoto.
Yeah, Yuya Sakamoto in this one, and then they mentioned that the other new ref that's been doing matches is Taito Takabayashi.
Oh, that one's going to be a hard one.
Yes. They've just been calling him Taito. Yeah, they've been calling him Taito. But the couple close calls for Bushi, and they made mention that, you know, with a new ref, you never know, he could get the third hand down, and Yujiro really kind of overreacted on one of those close calls where it's like, oh no, like was that 3? No, that was only 2, right? I got out. But it also made me wonder, at some point in this tournament, do we think it's possible that an actual G1 competitor could lose one of these showcase matches?
Well, I was just about to say that it's getting to the point now with these showcase matches that it's going to become a point where the G1 competitor doesn't want to be the first one to lose one of these exhibition matches. So, and as you said, Cody, I really enjoyed Yujiro being like, no, that was only 2. That was only 2. And sort of semi-freaking out thinking he was that first G1 competitor to lose an exhibition match. But Bushi's Tope Suicida is fantastic. Absolutely lovely. He's just like a human dart. He just glides, and I just love it. Yujiro uncorks Big Juice. He wins as expected, I guess. But yeah, this was a fun exhibition opener for what it was.
It was the first of the exhibition openers to really make me question that. Like, I don't know if it'll be Bushi, but those 2 matches that Hiromu has coming up are 2 big matches that Hiromu is somebody I could see getting an upset in this tournament.
Yeah, and it wouldn't look out of place with Hiromu winning. So it'll be interesting to see which way they go. Tanga Loa versus Tomohiro Ishii was very, very enjoyable. I got more than I expected out of Tanga Loa. You always know what you're going to get out of Ishii. Cody, give me your thoughts on Tanga versus Ishii.
I mean, I talked about it during Ishii and Kenta, how long those 2 went with their striking exchange. I think Tanga Loa and Ishii doubled the length of time that they just stood there throwing those forearms into each other. It felt like it was never going to end. They just kept going and going and going. Like somebody called the Energizer Bunny because they're stealing their gimmick. But no, it was a really good match between them, especially with both of them sitting at 0 wins as of this point, 2 points with each of them having the forfeit wins over Naito on their record. But didn't know which way it was going to go. I thought Ishii would be the one to get it. It felt like Ishii's just the more recognizable, bigger name competitor, but at the same time, Ishii hasn't been getting the job done yet in this tournament. So they really had me thinking it could go the other way for a while. When Tanga Loa got Ishii up for the ape shit, I thought maybe that's it. And then Ishii literally drops out of it right into the vertical drop brainbuster for the win. It was a really quick finishing sequence there that they had me thinking it was going one way, and then snap, it's going the other.
Yeah, I think Kevin did a good job on commentary of really putting that over too. The Ishii's got the quick feet to get into that position to be able to finish the match as quickly as he did was another highlight. And shout out to Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton. They do a fantastic job telling the story, not just for the hardcore viewer, but also the casual viewer who are catching up as well. I think they do a really good job. Mel, what did you think?
Just one last thought on there. I thought Tangaloa looked really, really strong in this match, and yet again, wrestling a very clean match. Like both of GODR in this tournament just made specific note of that he didn't even make a mistake. He just got beat.
Yeah, I agree. I had that in my notes too. Tonga did nothing wrong in this one. It was just all about Ishii being a veteran with the quick feet, and it won. That's what won him out here. Mel, your opinions on Tonga versus Ishii?
What I liked about this match is that these are two big guys who are deceptively quick for their size. And I actually personally think that this was the quickest I've seen Ishii. There was one point where he was just flat out on his back, and then suddenly he was back up on his feet again, and he did I believe it was a tackle of some kind on Tonga. Tonga, yeah. And when he came off the ropes, he wasn't expecting him to be right in his face again. So I really enjoyed how quickly paced that match was. It was a good, as JR would say, slobber knocker, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It led us to what I think I really enjoyed. It wasn't for everyone what was next, but I enjoyed it, and I reckon you guys enjoyed it too. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Great-O-Khan. I don't have words. I just wrote in my notes here. I have no words for what to say what we saw here. This was just insanity. It really, really was. I'm going to start with you, Mel. What did you think about Zaki Outrageous Techers and Great-O-Khan?
Soy boy Techers. the Great-O-Khan is really impressive. Like, I've always been a fan of his since he arrived. Every match I see of his, he's learning, he's getting better, he's applying new things that he learns from the past into his new matches. But this was not what I expected out of him. Like, I knew he could do technical stuff. I know he had a judo background, but I didn't know that he could keep up so well with Zack Sabre Jr. and almost at certain points in the match had Zack, selling in the corner going like, what is going on? Very similar to how he was selling to Yoshihashi's Cinderella story through the G1 last year. This match was incredible. I thought it was a great technical match. Looks like Zack actually caught O-Khan a couple times in the beginning of the match there. Khan had a bit of a bloody nose. But if I can say one bad thing, Zack Sabre Jr., for all the amazing technical prowess that he has got to have the worst European uppercuts I've ever seen in anything. I don't even know that he's doing any damage. He's just kind of throwing his arm this way. But other than that, that match I felt was incredible. I was very shocked, pleasantly shocked at what I saw. And I'm very similar in the same kind of area with you, Matt. I didn't know what else to say except for slow clap. That was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, commentary did a good job of telling you Great-O-Khan what he's good at and, in the martial arts type of stuff. But yeah, I just loved every part of this. Cody, thoughts on Zack versus GOK?
First thought right off the bat, why was this match before intermission? You got two undefeateds in the tournament going at it in like the mid card before you go to break. That was stunning. It doesn't even make sense to me why this wouldn't be your main event on the card. But that said, fantastic match. Absolutely. Like, I had high hopes going into it and they still exceeded my expectations. Like before I started the show, I was like, I'm really looking forward, especially with both of them sitting on undefeated records. I'm like, this is the match that I'm waiting to see. It's one I had circled on my calendar right from the day that the schedule was announced. And it just, the technicality, the striking, the exchanges, the reversals, just everything they did. And that, again, Zack pulling out some kind of weird octopus crucifix arm bar, very similar to what he had on Shingo. And again, you had GOK trying to hold his grip, and as soon as Zack got that arm out, it was done.
Yeah,
immediate tap as soon as he got it.
Yeah. Exact same as what Shingo happened too, right? As soon as he got it straight, it was done. I loved it. I want more. These two, they could wrestle. Like, this is a fight forever scenario for me right now. I want these two to go at it for a 30-minute time limit. I want them on a big card. I want them fighting for titles.
Yep. I will agree 100%. The match that was first after intermission probably should have been before intermission, but Ibushi versus Yano. This was short. It was sharp. It was inoffensive. It was probably what Ibushi needed at this point of the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start with you, Cody. What did you think of this 5-minute sprint? Yeah. Yep, that probably sums it up, yeah.
Ibushi doesn't have time for Yano's shenanigans.
No.
Really, that's the big thing I got out of this. Ibushi just, you know what? I'm here to fight. I'm here to wrestle. I don't have time for this nonsense. You can try all the nonsense you want. I'm going to kick you in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what we got, and that's how it ended. In all honesty, Ibushi got his hands on him. He bombayed him in the back of the head, and then he just kneed him square in the face, and then pinned him and just said, "I'm out of here. I've had enough of this rubbish." Mel, it was 5 minutes. It was inoffensive. Ibushi probably thought it was offensive because he doesn't like this sort of rubbish. What did you think about this?
I think I was singing that little Carney ditty the whole time, just watching him roll him up in the ring apron and the bag on his head. I was like, this is exactly not what I expected, but sort of what I expected out of Yano. But you could definitely tell that as the match finally kind of got underway in the ring, and yeah, Ibushi just didn't. He wasn't here for it. He wanted to go home and have a nap, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's where Ibushi's sort of at in the tournament at the moment, and he needs all the rest he can get, and that's fine. That's why this quick 5-minute match sort of worked in his favor. We'll move on to the main event.
This time.
No, definitely no bondage. Ibushi's not here for that shit.
No, his bag was empty. He wrapped the bag around Ibushi's head, remember? And then Ibushi wrapped it around his head after the match.
So we've gone from bondage to empty bags. Gee whiz, we're all over the place today. My gosh. What has this show become? The main event was the opposite of what we just spoke about. Shingo versus Kenta was all the hard hitting that you want. Chris and Kevin brought up all the history from Dragon Gate, the New Japan Cup stuff. This was just a brilliantly worked main event between two really talented professional wrestlers. I expected Shingo to win, but after the Pillmanizer with the chairs, I thought Kenta was going to actually steal this one. Mal, did you think the same? Were you always Takagi?
You know, I called Kenta from the beginning, and I called Kenta being Takagi's only blemish. And I believe Zack Sabre Jr. is probably going to be Takagi's only blemish on this. But the match, Kenta pulled out everything that he had to try to get the win over Shingo, and unfortunately it just wasn't enough for him at the end of the match. This is the reason why Takagi is the world champion there, and that this match would be it. Absolutely.
And I think Korakuen was the right place for this match to happen because of the way Kevin and Chris were bringing up the history of the New Japan Cup and what happened there with the DDT on the floor and all that sort of stuff. This was another super fun show in a big block of them. And, you know, for me, G1 just keeps on delivering up until this point, which leads us to what happened last night for me. I don't know if it was whereabouts you are in the world.
The Kenta Shingo stuff for me.
Yeah.
Just the focus that's been placed on Shingo's arm up until this point, from Zach in the first match through the next match through now to like what Kenta did, just throughout this tournament, it really feels like we're really, really focusing on Shingo's arm. And I think if Shingo does have any more blemishes, it's going to be due to that arm.
Yeah. Well, my question to both of you is Shingo selling or is he actually injured?
I think it's a combination of both, because he did the same thing with his thumb, where he'd injured the thumb and it was very heavily wrapped and in that thing similar to what Kojima wears his thumb support for a few months, not long after he had started with New Japan. Now it's just kind of gone down to a wrapping. Zack Sabre Jr. did a lot of damage on that arm. He was kicking it a lot. He was, tying it up a lot, stretching it in ways it's not supposed to go. I think it's not feeling good, but I think that he's probably over dramatic, like being a little over dramatic about how badly it's hurt,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his
Yeah,
pumping
absolutely it
bombers
does.
and his Last of the Dragon and stuff still look clean.
Yeah. Yeah. And, every time he hits one, he sells it. So, yeah, that's all we can ask. If it's a little bit injured, but it's enough for him to work through, then he's doing a really good job of doing so. We spoke about Yoshinobu Kanemaru before. This was a showcase for him against Oiwa. I like Oiwa. I like Fujita. They're two of the probably best crop of young lions that we got going at the moment. This was fun. I'll start with you, Cody. What did you like about this?
It definitely felt like a step up for Oiwa.
Yep.
That first match that he had that opening night against Sho, I felt like it was just a straight up squash for him. He barely got any strikes in it at all, and when he did, Sho had him shut down before he got anything going. The stuff we've seen with Oiwa and Fujita has all been good, but that's just Young Lion Showcase. Yep. Going in the ring with Kanemaru here, and seeing like the aggression, the quick start, the jumping on Kanemaru before he could even really get his shirt off. Obviously, Oiwa wasn't winning it, but just seeing that kind of burst of aggression and the amount of offense that he got in on Kanemaru, he looked really good with what he was doing. Kanemaru, obviously, still a great wrestler, tag team champion, getting ready for Super Junior and Super Tag League himself. But it's nice to see when the Young Lions do get that offense in to really gauge where they stand in comparison to the other people, as opposed to just being a straight squash.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Oiwa's selling of the knee too. Kanemaru got him on the outside with it. I thought he did a good job for the most part of selling it when they were inside the ring. And then he tapped out to the figure four in the end. Mal, what did you think about both Kanemaru and Oiwa in this fun opener?
Kanemaru has actually, he's also been another one of my personal favorites in the combination with El Desperado, particularly in the junior tag division. But I just love the heel master coming out with his whiskey. It's unfortunate he can't use it as his finisher anymore. However, I felt this was a very good way for, oh gosh, I'm going to struggle with this name, Oiwa? I thought that it was a great way for him to get some new experience because, like you said, the match with Sho, he was shut down pretty quickly and we didn't get to see a real combination kind of match there. And I think that's just also probably a little bit of Sho's inexperience kind of coming through on there. Whereas with Kanemaru, he's been around for quite some time. He's got quite the experience. He knows how to make people look good and he knows how to make people look bad. So I felt this was a great opener for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Which led us to Jeff Cobb versus Tama Tonga. This was just two men from the islands just beating the tar out of each other. It was a bit of a sprint match. It didn't go very long. It was fun. I'm forever amazed by Cobb's athleticism. It knows no boundaries. Every time he does a standing moonsault, I still freak out. He never looks like he's going to botch it, but I still freak out. Tama keeps showing up and showing out. Master Heater is a massive heater, Master Heater, whatever you want to call him these days. Jado is still not getting involved, and I love that. I'll start with you, Mal. Jeff Cobb versus Tama Tonga.
I mean, what's to say about Tama Tonga coming into this tournament? He's coming in just loud and proud. You can't miss him coming in. That gunstun reversal into the German and then the Tour of the Islands at the end of the match. Yeah. Perfection. That was so good. Again, I am really liking how Jado is not getting involved in the matches, how Bullet Club shenanigans are kind of becoming Bullet Club House of Torture shenanigans as opposed to Bullet Club shenanigans. But, that can always change, obviously. Mr. Gato has been kind of not around, lurking for a little bit. And I suspect we'll eventually get back to this, but I think with what Tama and Tongaloa are kind of doing is showing that they don't need the support of Bullet Club to be successful, and I think that's what I'm kind of living for right now. But again, Jeff Cobb, I mean, what are you going to do? That's kind of a force that you don't fight a tidal wave, you just let it take you, and that's pretty much what happened in this one.
Yeah, I agree. Tama and Tonga, they seem to have a point to prove, like there's some sort of pride on the line, and that's why Jado maybe isn't getting involved. I'm not sure. Last time Tama was in the G1, it was just an absolute clusterfuck of DQs and outside interference and ridiculousness. And I think he's even gone on record to say that, I didn't like it. I wasn't a fan of it personally. I'm not about that. So for me, Tama's matches have all been good. Cody, Cobb versus Tama.
Yeah. I mean, just to touch on what you just said too, that was back in 2009, which was my first G1 that I watched live. That's basically what Bad Luck Fale was too, right? It was just shenanigans and just a cluster of everything. And every time Fale came to the ring, you didn't expect an actual match. You expected chairs and kendo sticks and interference and distractions and corner pads. And that's kind of how I'm feeling about Evil this year. So, but this Tama and Cobb match, very, very impressive match. I wrote it in my notes watching it. I don't know if it holds up looking back on it, but I felt this was kind of the hardest anybody has pushed Cobb to this point.
I'd argue the who do you wrestle on night 6 was it Goto?
Yeah,
I'd argue that Goto probably did, but maybe equal.
Goto took him longer for sure. I just felt like Tama pushed him harder. The clean catch into the belly to belly from the corner really stood out to me, where Tama went for that corner splash and Cobb just caught him and walked out with him. That was really, really impressive to me. The Tongan twist into the top rope splash almost popped me. I thought it might be an upset there coming. And then, like you guys mentioned, the gun stun reversals, both of them really, really well done. Didn't expect Cobb to lose, but they definitely had me going for a minute there that I thought maybe it could be a big upset coming.
Yeah. Didn't eventuate. Cobb is just on a mission. Seemingly, as I said before, we're seemingly headed to a final night showdown in the main event. And if that happens, cool. I like a few twists and turns in the meantime, but we'll see how it goes. Evil versus Chase Owens. Again, every Evil match is exactly the same. It's just, Control C from this night and Control V on this night.
No pretty ladies this one, though.
No, Evil's just not for me in the G1 at the moment. In-ring, his talent, he is solid. His in-ring talent is solid. He's really, really a good professional wrestler. The Togo stuff and the fact that Togo is on the booking committee and he's booking Evil this way, that's just where I'm at with Evil at the moment. Cody, please tell me you have something positive to say about this match.
The story told in this match is what I want to see. I've mentioned it since our first show 2 weeks ago that what I want to see out of this is the House of Torture and Bullet Club either breaking away or feuding with each other or something along those lines. And I think this was really the first seeds of it. We got a little bit out of it with the Yujiro Kenta match, but this is really the big one with Evil trying to tell Chase to lay down. They give the too sweet. Chase tells Dick Togo, stay out of it. This is between us. I want to have a clean match. And then Evil's like, lay down.
Yeah.
Chase slapping him across the face, and then Togo not listening and actually getting involved, and still the same shenanigans despite the fact they're supposed to be on the same team. And then post-match too with Chase, very, very reluctant to give that too sweet in the middle of the ring. It's what I really want out of this Bullet Club story right now is for them to split apart and go into two different factions and just become something, because I really want Chase to succeed. I'm becoming a Chase fan because of this tournament. And I want him to become something other than just a regular Bullet Club lackey out of this. And this is, if that's where this story goes, I enjoy this match for that.
Yeah, I agree. I want to see Chase stray from the Bullet Club. I think he's run his race with that faction. He versus Tanahashi next. Is that where Chase gets his first win and then feuds with Tanahashi? New Japan do some funny things, but we'll see.
The Texas champion upset the U.S. champion?
I've seen worse things in professional wrestling.
Something I would love to see.
I've seen worse things in pro wrestling. I watched the end of Extreme Rules. I've seen really, really worse things in professional wrestling. Mel, what did you think of Evil versus Chase Owens?
I mean, I wrote down exactly what you say. Evil doing evil things. It's a typical Togo interference. I knew that they would still interfere with, even against other Bullet Club members. We saw this with Kenta earlier in the year. You know, there's no honor among the thieves there, and I agree. I don't think Chase really fits with this evolution of Bullet Club anymore. When Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Marty Skrull and those people were kind of involved, he fit right in there. He was one of the boys, but now he kind of feels almost like Robbie Eagles does in Chaos. He's kind of like he's there.
Yeah,
we don't know why he's there, but he's there.
Yeah.
And he could be doing such better things elsewhere. The match overall, I thought the spot where Chase, I think he did a dive onto Togo and then came back in, nailed Evil with a C trigger. I was the fastest I've seen him in quite some time. And then on top of that, he's just looking great. We've mentioned it before, but he's just looking fantastic.
Yeah.
So I personally would love to see him be able to kind of grow from this. I wasn't surprised that he did lose, and I wasn't surprised that he hesitated. He didn't even do the full over too sweet. He just do it so we
straight
can go
down
kind of thing.
that and then walked off.
Yeah. I want to see Chase somewhere else. The question is where. I don't know if he would do well as a free agent on his own, kind of wandering around the New Japan locker room aimlessly.
I think I would like to see Chase in Chaos.
Yeah.
Switch
Chaos
Eagles and...
Well, Chaos is a sort of faction where you can be associated but still be your own person in a sense. So, yeah, it makes sense. It really does. Yeah, you seemingly have to be associated with someone in New Japan. But with Bullet Club now...
Unless you're Ibushi.
Yes. It seems
Isn't
to be...
Ibushi Team New Japan?
Ibushi's Team Ibushi. He's more of an associate now than a member of Bullet Club. And with the way House of Torture sort of thing, I think, as Cody said before, it's time to divide, split the two. And I think Tama's probably on his way to doing that, but we'll see how it plays out. Taichi versus Yoshihashi. I didn't have this earmarked as a match that stood out to me, but holy crap, this ruled. This freaking ruled. And I popped so hard for the counter of the Black Mephisto into the flip pile driver. I lost my nana at about 1 o'clock in the morning. Yoshihashi wins, and I was in shock after 25 minutes. Mel, were you shocked? Did this shock you in any way?
Yeah. I mean, but then again, we've been talking. Yoshihashi, he performs for these G1s. He comes and he gives it. And I want to see him do this consistently throughout the year. So when he gets to this point, I'm supportive of him and not sitting there going, why is he winning this stuff?
Yep.
But I am enjoying seeing this more kind of aggressive side of Yoshihashi in the G1. I hope it's something that he carries on into the rest of the year, into defending those the 6-man titles. I really hope that he does keep this up. But for me, this was a very solid, surprisingly solid match where Yoshihashi is involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Cody, did you like this as much as I did?
Yeah. It wasn't anything anywhere even close to a match I had circled. It was a sleeper match that I almost slept on, and it turned into a classic, and it woke me up as I was fading in consciousness this late into the shows. Just absolutely amazing. I have to go back and rewatch it because I did not give the first half of this match nearly the attention it deserved. And these two just put it all on the line. I think by the end of it, I think it's probably one of the best singles matches, at least, of Yoshihashi's career.
Yeah.
That it's really that kind of bucket list win that he needs as somebody who's been around as long as he has without any kind of significant wins under his belt. Beating Taichi in this tournament with what Taichi had been doing up to this point, it's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree 100%. I don't know if it means Yoshihashi's going to string a couple together. Probably not. But, this was to Yoshihashi what Taichi beating Sonata earlier was for Taichi. It was hard hitting. It was solid. It was 50-50 until the very end. And then, he goes for karma. You think it's going to get reversed. He hits it and you're like, oh, he's going to win. And then he does. Yoshihashi is finally on the board. Taichi's dropped 2 in a row. This is eerily similar to Taichi last year, where he won his first 4, I think it was last year. And then he went on this massive skid. So that's another interesting story playing out. But Yoshihashi just deserts for what he's achieved or what he's shown so far, in my opinion. But yeah, this ruled. I really, really enjoyed this match. And as Cody said, I will be rewatching it and giving it the attention that it truly deserves. Because, yeah, the first half of this, I probably was, tuning in and out. But down the stretch, this was really, really good. Semi-main event, Kazuchika Okada versus Hiroki Goto. This was about what you'd expect from these two studs. Chaos versus chaos, always hard hitting. I'll start with you, Cody. Okada versus Goto. Did you get what you expected? Did you get more than you expected?
Yeah, it was about what I expected out of these two.
Yeah.
A really hard-fought match. Both guys just laying it all on the table in terms of like a faction versus faction interwar. What I took out of this, though, is Goto's looked so good through 4 shows at this point and is still sitting at 0-4. And they touched on it a little bit that the 3-man tag champions, the never triple tag or whatever we want to call them, all 3 had been struggling to start this tournament. And now Ishii's off the block. Yoshihashi's off the block. Goto is our last one without any points in this tournament so far. And, there's no real easy matches in this tournament, really, as it stands. I mean, you got a couple of the guys who maybe are under Goto in terms of what you'd expect, but where does he get that first win? Like, what does this mean for Goto being stuck on the 0 points 4 nights into a 9-night tournament?
Yeah, and we'll touch on his next opponent shortly, because his next opponent, oh boy, it's there. Mel, Okada versus Goto. What you expected? Not what you expected?
I both Chaos members, like as Cody mentioned, inter-faction kind of battle here. Both of these guys are infamous for their in-ring abilities.
Yes.
You can't not put them in the ring together and expect to not have a great match. I personally really enjoyed it. I didn't have anything written down specifically except for Goto always delivers and Okada has the best drop kicks, which is an echo from the last one.
Yeah, every Okada match, except for when you're watching New Japan
much.
Strong, where they're trying to convince us somebody else has best drop kick now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's like trying to convince us that someone else is a better commentator than Kevin Kelly.
Or convince us somebody else has a better sling blade than Tanahashi.
Yeah, none of those are happening. But what I did like is the fact that Okada won with a roll-up. It was seemingly out of nowhere. I like that mixture. He's got the money clip, the Rainmaker. He's won with a roll-up now. There's numerous ways he's winning matches, and to me, that's another layer to his character, and I think it's fantastic.
I think he's perfected that jumping, spinning tombstone too. When I saw it a couple years back, it didn't look as nearly as clean as it's looking now. He's making it look really, really solid every time he's hitting that jumping, spinning tombstone. Yeah,
absolutely. Which leads us to the main event. He has been
nursing a back injury for a little bit, though, hasn't he?
Yeah. I would say he's probably close to 100% now. So, it leads us to our main event, Tanahashi versus Sonata. For me, this wasn't the best match between these two. It was fun. It didn't go as long as I thought it was going to go. Sonata is just super athletic and very, very good. Tanahashi, the output he's still putting out at his age against guys like Sonata is out of this world. And I think anyone who had questions on Tanahashi coming into this tournament, I think those questions have been answered and probably then some already. As I said, this match wasn't the greatest effort between these two for me. I thought it was fun nonetheless. Mel, Tanahashi versus Sonata. What were your thoughts on it?
I'm actually in the same boat as you. I had a lot of expectations for this one, and I felt that it just didn't. It wasn't quite what it could have been.
Yeah.
But to play off what you're saying, it's absolutely, we have to point out that Tanahashi, he isn't the spring chicken he was. And even watching a match with him and Okada from 2018 to now, you can really just see in 4 years how much Tana has changed, either with his injuries or in age. And I think that unfortunately some of his injuries, specifically his knees, are going to start to become a huge factor in his future matches.
Yeah.
And kind of starting with this one, you did see Sonata kind of avoid going after the knees for a little bit, but as soon as Tana went after the knee, it was kind of like oh well, this is a free reign for me now, and that was when we started seeing the back and forth. What I did actually really like was the another battle of as Kevin said, that anything you can do, I can do better. Where they start doing the dragon screw leg whips back and forth, they start doing their moves back and forth. I really enjoyed that part of the match.
Yeah, Tanahashi won this match. That shocked me. I was expecting Sonata to win. Did that shock you, Mel?
Yes, yeah, I thought Sonata was going to win that one also.
Yeah, cool. Cody, what were your thoughts on this main event? And you nodded your head that Tanahashi winning shocked you.
Yeah.
What did you get? What you wanted out of this match? Did you think they left something in the tank?
Yeah, they definitely left something in the tank. It didn't encapsulate me. It didn't really rope me in the way that the Taichi Yoshihashi match did. And I think it may just be maybe in a capsule, maybe take it out and rewatch it on its own. Maybe it lives up to that. Maybe it was just the exhaustion of that Taichi Yoshihashi match and what that had offered as an ending, that this it just, there was no time to breathe before getting into this match, because I definitely felt like it left something to be desired out of it. It was fun with the back and forth and the everything you can do. Sonata doing the air guitar while he has Tanahashi tied up in the Paradise Lock was fun. It was about halfway through this match, I think, or 3/4 through, even though, that I started thinking back. And we talked last week, I think, about that Tama Tonga Sonata match and how it really stood out for me as the storytelling and one of the best matches on that night's worth of action. Yeah. And I had kind of chalked that up to Sonata, just the respect that I have for Sonata over the years. But I feel like after we've now been through another week's worth of action, I feel like Tama Tonga really kind of has made it known to me that he deserved a lot more appreciation for that match between them, because something like this with Sonata and Tanahashi, I would expect them to go all out and tell a story that would really, really rope me in the same way as he did with Tama Tonga.
Yep.
And it wasn't quite there. And I think Sonata has a lot more of that in-ring skill and that technical skill. But I think I'm leaning more towards Tama as kind of someone that I'm really, really becoming a fan of going forward, just in hindsight and respect of what him and Sonata did together. That I really appreciate Tama more than I thought I did for that.
Yeah, and it's good that you can get that out of these matches, even in hindsight. It's a fantastic thing, and that's what the G1 provides us. So that was a week's worth of shows, 4 shows in total. We are 4 matches down in each block, so we're just under halfway, over halfway in A block because of the forfeit, but there's still 5 matches to go. I'll run through the standings really quickly. A block, we got Great O'Khan and Zack Sabre Jr. on 8 points. Keeping in mind, I've put the forfeits in already, so that's why points might be elevated. Yano, Ibushi, Kenta, and Shingo are all on 6 points. Yujiro is on 4 points. Ishii and Tangaloa 2 points, and Naito will, of course, forever be on 0 for the year. Sorry, Mal. B block, we've got Okada and Cobb 4 from 4, 8 points at the top. We've then got Evil and Tanahashi on 6, Taichi and Sonata on 4, Tama on 2, and then we have Yoshihashi now on 2 as well. I didn't update my thingy. Yoshihashi is on 2. Chase and Goto are on 0. That's where it stands at the moment. Have either of you sort of changed your minds in regards to where you think we end up on final night with how the standings sort of are halfway through?
I mean, with myself, I'm still for like I'm still standing by Kenta. I'm still trying to adamantly and defiantly stand by Kenta. I'm hoping he's a Cinderella story this year.
He's on 6 points. He's only 2 behind, but
yeah. So I mean, who knows? Maybe a tiebreaker could come into to play.
Well, that's the thing. Kenta's still got a match against Zach to come, and Zach has the tiebreaker over all the big names. Kenta's probably the last of the big names that he hasn't wrestled. So, you're right. A tiebreaker could come into that. Kenta, I think, has also got a match against Great-O-Khan. And has he got Ibushi left? He does. So Kenta's still got all the big names. So he could absolutely hold the tiebreak against any of those people. But we'll see how it plays out. What about from B Block, Mel?
I still think Cobb is going to dominate that one. I think he's kind of that immovable force that's not going to be dethroned lightly or easily.
Yeah. My only fear is the only loss Cobb has is to Evil. And if that happens, I probably riot. I don't want Evil being the only blemish on Cobb's record if that's how it happens.
Wasn't it Yujiro last year that was his only blemish?
No, Cobb lost a few last year. Yujiro he lost to on final night, I believe.
Cobb was Yujiro's only win.
Yes. On final night. So that means Yujiro beat Cobb on final night last year and backed it up by beating Ibushi on opening night this year. Not many people can say that in a hurry. Cody, have you changed or waned at all? Are you still with where you were pre-tournament?
I think, I was trying to remember, I think pre-tournament I ended up landing on Zach as my favorite, right?
Yeah, I was with Shingo, and Shingo's still thereabout, but it's hard to go past Zach at the moment. He's just unworldly.
Yeah. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Jeff Cobb. That's the final I want to see. And right now with Zach at 8 and Cobb at 8, I think we're definitely on the right track for that. But we know the G1 always likes to swerve us and change things up, and the early favorites don't end up being there at the end. So I'm not going to hold my breath, but at least as of right now, we're definitely heading in the right direction to see Zach and Cobb in the finals. As far as B Block goes, though, I think it all comes down to that Cobb versus Okada match on the 20th. Yeah, I think that's where we're heading. Is the winner of that match wins B Block, and A Block could go so many directions. We could see Shingo take it. We could see Zach take it. I don't think Great-O-Khan is somebody that we'll seriously see in the race at the end, but you never know. He's at 8 already, right? So one loss. But Kenta's at 6, Ibushi's at 6, Yano's at 6. Like, it's a tight race there that nobody's higher than 8 and everybody's at 6. So it's still really, really close in A Block that anybody except Naito could still win it.
I think they're doing a really good job of A Block with the forfeits all morphed in there. Zach is the only one that you can get like a line on because he wrestled Naito. Everyone else has got a forfeit mixed in there.
Well, everybody who's wrestled their special singles matches so far. So Shingo with Nagata, Tangaloa with Nagata, and now Yujiro with Bushi. So they're all on even keel that they've had their forfeit matches lined out. So,
and I think maybe Great-O-Khan having Naito final night, they might work it out so that works against him, and then they might, work something out there.
Where he goes into the final night tied with a couple of the guys, but because he can't get any more points, any of those guys earning points costs him.
I could definitely see them doing that. I picked Shingo pre-tournament. I'm sticking by that. I think he's as good a chance as any. If it's Zach versus Okada or Zach versus Cobb in the final, then I'm fine with that too. From what we've seen from just about anyone in this tournament, I'd be happy with just about any final. We saw Ibushi versus Sonata last year, and that ruled. New Japan, they don't always give you what you want, but 9 out of 10, even if you didn't want it, it's still really good. And that's, I think, a really, really good way of putting it. I did have a quick discussion on Twitter the other day, though. Would it be lazy of New Japan to just go in a bind to Okada winning? Would that be classified as lazy, in your opinion?
I think so. He had his 2-year championship. Not to say that he's not going to have another championship run. He absolutely is. He's what, 31. He's going to have more championships. But I do think that if, we don't know who else to, but just throw it on Okada. Like, I mean, we've seen that in other companies. It didn't go well. I think that would be a poor decision on their part, and they have more than enough other people that they can pick. They can have Okada, challenge the winner of that person, much like Jay White did with the Ibushi with the briefcase last year. But like having Okada win the championship, I think that would be a little lazy.
Yeah, and I meant to in not the sense of lazy, is in like, lazy in the sense of thought process. You've got Zach that could easily win this. Naito goes down, I reckon it's probably thrown everything out of whack, and they probably had to rewrite the whole tournament. And if they did, then kudos to them. They're doing a fantastic job. But that's what I meant, thought process wise. They could have just thrown their hands in the air and gone, all right, we'll give it to Okada, and that's just that. But, you've got Zach, you've got Cobb, you've got Shingo that could be, first person in a long time to be champion and win the thing. And he's openly said he's going to challenge Naito, but Ospreay might annoy him enough that he challenges Ospreay, or we could have 2 title defenses across the 3 nights of Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know. Cody, do you think it'd be lazy for them to just throw their hands in the air and go, you know what, Okada's winning the G1 and that's that? Or
yeah, it would be. I think there's enough story there to. You've got the Shingo angle, you've got the Zack Sabre angle, you've got the Jeff Cobb stuff right now that you've been building the Cobb and Okada feud for months and months now. You thought you blew it off, but now you're going to come back around on it. Cobb just beat Okada. Now he has to beat him again to win the tournament. It's a story built into itself. Okada might get that win back and end up in the finals, maybe. But I think putting the win on him and sending Okada to the finals and to the match at Wrestle Kingdom is fairly lazy at this point when you've got all of these other guys that you're building up. I don't think Naito was in the conversation to win this year anyhow. I'm sure he would have been near the top of the block and in the conversation at the end of the tournament, that he'd be there on the final night. But I don't think he was going to win, so I don't think it changed too much in terms of like winners and final night matchup. Just probably how they have to play it out points wise.
Yeah, but if you look at, with G1, I always look ahead to the final sort of couple of nights. If Naito was still in there, you would have had Ibushi versus Naito in the second last A block night. That would have been, up there. And then, no matches for the bigger names really stand out on the end of A block last night. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Like Great-O-Khan versus Naito being there would have been something. Ibushi and Kenta, though, right? Like Ibushi and Kenta could be something that ends up going down as the match for the bracket.
It could be. And Tonga Loa could beat Zack Sabre Jr. somehow and ruin Zack's chances. We just don't know. We just don't know. But that was the last week for shows of G1. There's a couple coming up. When's the next one? Tomorrow
Tomorrow night,
I believe. Yeah. Which is A block action. Ibushi versus Shingo, which, what do you say? Ishii versus ZSJ, again, what do you say? Yano is taking on
Bushi.
Tonga Loa versus Yujiro, and we've got Great-O-Khan versus Kenta. That card has all the capabilities to be absolutely amazing.
I mean, Yano and Bushi will be probably a pretty fun match. Bushi can put on a pretty fun match with Yano. Great-O-Khan versus Kenta is something that could probably steal the show. Tonga Loa and Yujiro is probably the first real seeds we might see of the cracks in Bullet Club.
Yep.
With the House of Torture there, and then Tangaloa, that we could definitely see some more teasing of the friction within Ishii and Zack Sabre. I mean, what do you even say about that match? That's those two guys, whenever I've seen them go in the past, has been fantastic.
Yep.
And then Shingo and Ibushi, I mean, that's a Wrestle Kingdom match in of itself.
Yeah, well, they were meant to wrestle for the title before Ibushi got the pneumonia, so
yeah,
they've circled back towards that, and it's going to rule. It really is. And then we head back to Korakuen for the next lot of B block, which is going to be headlined, I assume, by Okada versus Sonata. You've also got Goto versus Yoshihashi, which was what I was talking about before. Yoshihashi has finally got that win. Goto is still winless. Be interested to see which way that goes. Jeff Cobb versus Taichi will be good.
we get
Evil
Tama
versus
Tonga versus Evil.
Evil versus Tama Tonga. I have highlighted, bolded, underlined. I'm intrigued by this match for the Bullet Club House of Torture staff. I'm super intrigued, and I'm so intrigued as well by Tanahashi versus Chase Owens.
The next two nights, right? You got God versus House of Torture.
Yeah, and Tanahashi versus Chase just intrigues me because I want to see Chase beat him. I really want to see Chase beat Tanahashi. Probably won't happen, but, fingers are crossed, that's for sure. Fingers are crossed. But that's what we've got to look forward to, and that's what we've had the last 4 nights. It's been tiring, as you said, Mel. It's been exhausting. Cody, you've watched all 4 in like 24 hours. You're a maniac.
That's why I lost it a little bit at the end of that Taichi and the Taichi Yoshihashi match, and then Okada Goto and Tanahashi and Sonata. It was just getting through those last couple matches after watching 4 shows in less than a day. I was like, oh, it's a lot. It's a lot watching 22 wrestling matches in 24 hours.
Yeah, and some New Japans, especially the semi-mains and the mains, they do take up a little bit of time, and because they're story-based matches, you sort of got to put some focus on them. But yeah,
the hard part is watching like 3 or 4 in a row and trying to differentiate which match happened what night and how, and suddenly you're confusing people. And it's like, those people didn't actually fight.
That's why I have to have very detailed notes on my phone.
Yeah, so fair enough. So if you don't already, follow us on all the socials: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, as well as YouTube, Twitch. Everything is Love Wrestling CA. We're putting out heaps of great content. Spencer dropped an interview with Roxy, the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, the other day. I believe he was the first person to interview her since she won the title. Head across to YouTube and check that out. I'll be back Sunday morning with JPJ for the AEW Weekend Elite. Cody, got it right this time. Woohoo! Cody, what are you got coming up this week, and where can people find you?
I probably won't be on anything now until next week's, for when we're back here next Friday for this same show again. Unfortunately, the NXT show on Tuesday night, I am tied up and otherwise indisposed. That Astrid and Ed will be running that potentially with somebody filling in my spot. So check them out Tuesday nights reacting to NXT. You can follow me, Twitter, Twitch at Cody Defoe. I tweet about wrestling. I haven't been active on Twitch too much yet, but if you give me a follow, I'll be putting up some wrestling content and different video game content in the future as well myself.
There you go. And of course, I'm hoping Mel will be back next week. Same about time,
if you'll
same
have
about
me,
channel.
I'll keep coming.
We'll. I reckon we'd have to drag you away if you're not coming back, to be honest.
Have to drag me away from the TV.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. But where can people find you if they want to get your...
The most interactive I am right now is on Instagram, which is going to be at melball_101. And then I also have my Twitter. It's going to be Collins Melball.
There you go. That's where you can find these two lovely people. And also, we've got our sponsor, Rich at RK Athletics. You can find him at all the socials at RK Athletics 1. If you want to get fit, stay fit, or just maintain a healthy lifestyle, which is always good, something I need to do better myself. hit up Rich, RK Athletics 1 on all the socials. He is a fantastic fellow. He will not steer you wrong. This has been fun, as always.
It is.
G1
it's always
again
fun
just
talking
keeps
G1.
Yeah, and it just keeps delivering, and we're not even halfway, so we've got plenty more to come.
Yay!
Yeah, so
We'll be back here every Friday for the remainder of the tournament.
we will. So yeah, you're stuck with us, and hopefully, fingers crossed, if I don't disable my microphone next week. So let's not have some more live TV dramas. But yeah, anyway. So that's that. Yes, got it right again. For Cody, for Mel, get away from my face. And for me, the franchise, you can follow me on Twitter. That's 2 underscores right there. This has been fun. We'll be back next week. You can find me Sunday at 9 a.m. with JPJ doing the weekend elite. Till next time, we are out of here. See you guys.